you for joining us on time. I see you're already a lot joining us right on time. I love it. So today we're going to try to see how to move to France like a pro. My name is Roman Perrault. I'm the director of Frenchly. Frenchly is a media platform dedicated for French culture, lifestyle, Francophiles in the United States, maybe looking to relocate to France, as well as people coming from the UK. Moving to France, as you know, is a dream for many people. The immigration process can quickly become complex. That's why we've joined today by two experts, Virginie and Léa Bernard from Oui Immigration, who will talk us through the main immigration pathways and help you understand which option might be the right one for you. Talking about you, we would love to know why you're joining us today. What's your project? So if you want to share with us in the chat, I'm opening the chat just for 30 seconds so you can tell us about your main motivation, why you're joining us, if you have a specific topic we would like us to focus on. So put it in the chat right now. It's below, right here on Zoom. If you're following us on YouTube Live, just put it in the comments and we'll read it. If you have any questions, there's a Q&A box, so that will stay open for the entire webinar, and we'll answer all your questions at the end. We're also joined by a surprise guest. You can see her, she's here. So it's Carla, and she actually did the move to France, thanks to Virginie and Léa. And so she will answer and give us some feedback on the whole process at the end. Virginie, I'll turn it over to you, and I'll come back at the end.
Thank you, Romain. Hi, everyone. Bonjour. Very happy to be with you today. So I'm Virginie. I'm the CEO of Oui Immigration.
And I am Léa. I'm your French immigration consultant, and I'll walk you through some of the past to see what may be available to you.
So just to give you a brief introduction on Oui Immigration. So we're immigration experts for corporates and individuals. We mainly work for France, but we also work on any immigration to any country in the world. And what we do basically is to make sure that you're going to be compliant in your country of destination with the right documents authorizing you to stay or to work or both. What we offer is expertise. Obviously, we're all seniors in immigration here. Transparency, we're always going to tell you what is feasible or not, how much it's going to take, how much it's going to cost. The idea, obviously, is to save you time because doing an immigration process can be stressful, can cost money if it's not done well. So we're here to help you on that. And obviously, the whole thing is to make sure you feel accompanied during your whole process until you arrive in France and even further when you're here. You will see that on some pages of the webinar, you have a QR code that you can use to get in touch with us if you want to book a consultation and have a personalized call so that we can discuss your situation and give you the best recommendation.
Virginie,
yeah.
I just want to give you also the feedback from the chat. I forgot. So we have people saying they bought a building in Montpellier. They're trying to move, so they anticipate their move, and they want to know about the rules, regulation, obligations. My husband is on a student visa. I'm here on a long visa. I have fallen in love with Paris. I want to move here. We have someone saying it's a dream. I want to make a reality. I'm planning to move to France in 5 years via a retirement long stay visa. And we have, hello, we're moving from San Francisco to Pau, France in 2027 on a talent visa. So that's for the feedback of the chat.
Well, thank you, Romain. It's great to see different situations, and obviously we'll be happy to answer your questions at the end of the presentation. And again, if you want to get in touch, happy to spend more time discussing with you. And also congratulations for anticipating, because I see people are thinking ahead, and that's great because immigration can take time. So congrats for that. Very good idea. So our motto is positive immigration. So we focus on positive feedbacks, positive experience, and positive results, obviously. We are 5 out of 5 on Google, which we are very proud of. I've just left you here some comments from international people with helped coming to France and settle down in France. So people from Brazil, Lebanon, US. Obviously, we have many US citizens coming at the moment, and many people from the UK as well. But it's really international immigration we're doing. So again, very happy to be here today. Now, to get straight to what we're going to be talking about today. So obviously, we're going to be talking about immigration, but it's important to keep in mind that immigration is much more than a visa. In your case, I mean, we've seen the example. It's really a choice of a new life. So it's a life strategy, and what you're doing now, the visa you're going to choose today, will impact your life, your taxes, your work rights, and eventually your nationality request if you want to go that far. So it's really important to decide to go for the right paths, and that's and that's what we're going to help you for today. So we're going to help you get a clearer idea of French immigration and administration. We're going to help you choose the right immigration routes, and we're going to make sure that your stay in France is compliant, because obviously it's our main goal to make sure you're in compliance with French immigration laws. As you know, immigration laws everywhere in the world evolve quite a lot, so it's really important to stay updated and to know what you're doing. So we won't be introducing all the visa options that you have, because in France we have like 15, 20 immigration routes. We're going to focus on the main ones. But again, if you need a specific assessment on your case, we'll be happy to do so. You've got the QR code again here that you can click on if you want to book a consultation. And also what we're going to be trying to do today is to help you avoid the most common mistakes that we see when people want to do immigration on their own. The biggest one is choosing the wrong immigration routes. Sometimes we get emails or calls from people who got a refusal, and when we go through the file, we see that it's basically because the wrong visa was selected, and it's quite difficult once you've done a mistake to go backwards. So obviously, our goal is to make sure you go for the right one. Another mistake we see is thinking short term, thinking, okay, I'm going to come under a tourist visa, and then I will see when I'm in France what I'm going to do. Not the best strategy. Same thing if you're aiming for French nationality on the long term. It's really important to think now what's going to be your plan for the next years, and this needs to be decided now. Weak documentation, that's also something we see quite often, files that are not complete, that are missing really important documents. So we're here to make sure your file will be complete when you go to the Consulate of France. And last mistake we often see is wrongly planning your mobility strategy. The idea is really to make sure you're compliant and from the very beginning, and that the choice you make now is not going to block you in 1, 2, 3 years. So again, it's really a life strategy that we're going to help you with today. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. So we're going to be talking about coming to France for fun, retirement, for work, to create a company, for love, because it does happen quite a lot. And then we'll be talking about French nationality, because the law has been changing a bit lately, so we'll tell you all about it. And at the end, we will have Carla, who's our guest today, who's an American citizen who's been here for 3 years. She'll come and she'll share her experience in Paris, and obviously you can ask questions if you have some. So to start with, Léa is going to tell you about the long stay visitor visa that is a popular one. I know many of you are probably waiting for that, so I leave her the floor.
Let's get started then. So I'm going to tell you about the visitor visa, which is in the category for fun retirement. So the visitor visa, we do a lot of them. The basis here is I will not give you every detail, every gruesome detail how to get it, on how to get it, but I'll explain to you the main requirement for you to know if you fit into that category, and then we'll be happy to help you with it. So the visitor visa is something you get when you want to come to France and you do not want to work. So the premises is that you will not work in France and you will have sufficient funds, nevertheless, to live throughout your stay in France without having to work here. So the visitor visa, as we'll see on the slide, the minimum annual income is 1,800 euros a month, which rounds up to 22k a year. So when you go to consulate, what you must prove is that first, you won't work. Second, you have enough funds, which you can prove in different ways. And that, again, is something we'll help you with. We'll help you navigate if you work with us. And also very important that you have a valid health insurance for the entirety of your stay. Now, that's something I'll go through about later. The health insurance is one of the pillars of the visitor visa. If you want to get it, you have to have a certain type of health insurance. The last point that you will see is that you will need a proof of accommodation in France that you will need to present to the consulate. Now, different options are available. You do not need to buy a house straight away in France while you're abroad to get your visa, but you will need to prove that you have somewhere to live before you actually arrive in France. So this visa, it's very nice to have if you want to visit France for a long time, if you want to settle, to see what you want to do in France and have a taste of France first. It's the visa if you are retired and you want to live in France. It's a visa you can get for 1 year and then renew as many times as your heart's desire. So it's a visa that you get for 1 year, and then once you're here, you can get a natural residence permit for 1 year that you can renew and renew and renew without having to go back to your home country. So if, however, you don't wish to see the French administration every single year until the rest of your life in France, which we would understand, you're eligible for a 5 to 10 year residency card after 5 years in France, or even in certain cases, naturalization, which is the French nationality request, which will give you a French passport. So the main thing about the visitor visa that you need to keep in mind is enough funds, no work, health insurance, and having an accommodation. Now, the disadvantages that we wrote is that the change of status, if you arrive in France with a visitor visa and you want to change status because you have found a job or you want to create a company, that can be lengthy, and that will be something we'll go through with you if you work with us, because we specialize in many different processes. So that's something we can navigate with you. That is just something you need to keep in mind. That's going back to what we said before about planning your mobility ahead, and even, asking us if you're unsure. We're happy to help, just to be sure you don't stop with a certain visa, such as a visitor, for which a change of status is a bit complicated, and then wanting to change routes. So to help you out with this, you can go to our website and actually download the visitor visa guide, which helps you figure out everything you'll need to sort out to go about that visitor visa. Now, on the next slide, you will see our experience about this, and the added value with working with us is that we can help you figure out many aspects of that mobility, especially when it comes to immigration and taxes. They don't often work together. the tax consideration is a big part of you moving to France. As you will most likely know it, you will pay a lot of taxes if you come to France. It is important for you to know if you are going to pay taxes in France, if you're not going to pay taxes in France. And for that, we have many contacts. We have contacts to help you relocate. We have contacts for the taxes. We can help you walk through that mobility with that peace of mind, knowing that you got every aspect of your mobility settled, which is always a big added bonus now. Also, if you want to come to France now, you must know that you can enjoy French social security. After 3 months in France, you will be able to request your registration for French social security. Now, the new law passed end of last year means you will have to contribute to get French social security, but you're still available for it if you come under that visitor visa. And finally, I think a big question for a lot of you is, can I get that French passport if I come to France and I settle to France for a long time? The visitor visa does not exclude you per se of that nationality request. It is not, however, the gold star to get access to nationality, just because, and I will talk about it to you later, nationality in France, you are required to pay taxes in France and to show resources, which is always much more preferred for this type of request to have worked in France, which you cannot do with a visitor visa. It does not exclude you from nationality. It is just not the simplest path. So if you see during our talk today that there may be another path available to you, do not hesitate to click on the QR code and have a chat with us to see if you're available for anything else that might get you quicker to that path.
Thank you, Léa. So as Léa was saying, sometimes what we see is that people come under the visitor visa Léa was just telling you about, and then they want to switch and open a company in France, which is completely feasible. It's not that complicated, but you won't be able to do so under the visitor visa because, again, it does not allow you to work. So you will need to get a visa allowing you to create a company. In that situation, you've got two options. You've got the entrepreneur visa, self-employment. That one is valid for 1 year, and then you renew it as long as you can prove that your project, that your company is working. Basically, what you need to show to French authorities is that your project is financially viable, which means that you need to show financial projections, you need to show a very solid business plan, very clear about what you're intending to do, and showing ideally that it has a relationship with what you've been doing before. Basically, if you've been an engineer and you want to open a bakery, it may not be the most straightforward route. It's feasible, but the fire really needs to be strong. And what you need to show in terms of money is that you're going to be making at least 1,800, or a bit more, let's say 2,000 euros, per month minimum out of your business. So that's not something that is going to be required for you when you first request the visa. The authorities are going to want to see that you've got enough money on your own to live until your business grows, which is, again, something like 2,000 euros per month. When you renew the visa, that's the time they're going to want to see how much money you're making out of it. So that's a really important part of the application. Obviously, having this kind of visa allows you to have your company in France, allows you to have a 4 years permit after some time if authorities see that your business is working, and it's a great path to French nationality or a long-term residence card. Now, the most difficult points are that the application is highly discretionary because the first step is going to be to get an agreement from the Ministry of Labour or Economy. So they're going to go through your business plan, they're going to ask you questions, and they're going to tell you yes or no, it makes sense to us. So you need to convince this authority, then you need to convince the consulate, and then once you're in France, you need to convince the prefecture about your project. Obviously, our job is to make sure that your file is complete. We're going to help you go through everything and make sure that it looks completely complete and viable for the authorities, and we're going to help you for that. The other negative point I would say is that the entrepreneur visa, compared to the one we will see in the next slide, does not include the family. So it's going to be for you only, and your family needs to obtain a visitor visa, for instance. And this type of application can take a bit longer than the visitor visa, because obviously it's a longer file and the consulate will take longer to go through it. Now, the other option, if you want to create a company, is the talent passport company creation. So the talent passport is a type of category in French immigration that is like the best category, let's say, because it's usually released for a long term, for up to 4 years. It includes the family, and when I say family, I mean your married spouse or your child under 18 years old. So obviously, it's a more stable way to be in France. For that talent passport, specifically the company creation one, the company creation visa, it's a bit the same as the previous one. The main difference is that for that one, you need to prove you've got a master or at least 5 years of professional experience. Again, you're going to have to show a very solid business plan. And the most important part is that you need to show you're going to invest 30,000 euros onto your French company. So it needs to be, that money needs to be put on the French professional bank account. And it's really going to be money that you're going to be using for the company. So you can use it for investment, for salaries, whatever, but you need to show this money in your bank account when you request the visa. That's really important. It's the main piece of one of the main piece of the application. So again, what I was saying, talent passport, so you can include your family. It's usually released for up to 4 years, depending on your passport length, depending as usual on the authorities' decision, because we're always going to be depending on the authorities' decision. And it's the royal route to French nationality after 5 years. Disadvantages, obviously the 30,000 euros, depending on your budget, it is something to consider. The business plan must convince, again, the Ministry of Economy, the consulate, the prefecture, so it needs to be solid. And it takes some time. All in all, that kind of process between creating the company in France, getting the business plan validated, then preparing the whole application, going to the consulate and getting your visa, in average, it takes around 4 to 5 months. Again, the timings we're giving are always going to be depending on how responsive everyone is, you to provide the documents, the authorities to give you an appointment and to do that job. So we're giving you average timelines here. And if you're thinking of creating a company, we're really happy to help. And we also have connections with people that can help you create your company in France, because that's not something we do, but we can put you in relations with accountants or people specialized in the creation of companies in France, which is important because there are many different types of companies in France, and the taxes, the amount of taxes you're going to pay are going to depend on the type of company. So again, it's a great thing to think ahead and really anticipate that aspect, because then it's quite difficult to change. And if you need help to write your business plan, because it takes time, it's an expertise. Same thing, we have a US-based company partner that we can put you in touch with, and they're gonna help you do that. So all in all, it's a whole package we're offering you to make sure that you manage to create your company in France with the right visa and hopefully it becomes a success afterwards. The other option, if you want to create a company in France, and that's a bit different, it's again a talent passport, so long-term, family included. That one is if you already have a company in your country of residence and that you're opening a branch in France. In that case, it's a more straightforward process. You need to show your name is on the certificate of incorporation of the French company. You need to show you've been working in the same group for more than 3 months. And you need to show you're going to have a work contract of with a salary of 65,000 euros a year. So again, it's a bit of a quite selective visa, but it could be a great option. And same thing, it includes your family. But it's a great option. It's more straightforward. It's less documents than the 2 previous options, but you need to show this salary. So again, we're happy to do a consultation with you to see what fits your situation best. And now the next section is if you're coming to France to work, and Léa is going to tell you about the famous European Blue Card.
Exactly. So you may have understood it by now. Everything that has talent, so here is the talent European Blue Card, is the gold star in terms of immigration in France. So the European Blue Card is made for you if you are employed by a French company. So the requirement here is that you have a French company who signed you a French contract to work with them. To do that, to obtain that visa and then that residence permit, you need to be paid at least 60k a year, or at least meet the minimum of the bargaining agreement that we have in France, and to have either a bachelor degree or 5 years of experience in the same field as the work you're going to do in France. Now, this is truly the gold star because as every talent passport, you can bring your family, which is always a way nicer point if you mean to relocate to another country. We are again talking about spouse and minor children. The duration of this permit, once you arrive in France and ask for the permit, is 4 years, which is very nice. So you don't, again, have to go back to the French administration every year. And after 5 years, you are eligible for French nationality or a 10-year permit. Again, when I'm saying this is a gold star, it's also because the talent resident permit will be the favorite path to nationality for simple reason that is, you will gain a lot of money and you will pay a lot of taxes. So that's always a bonus when you're looking at that French passport way of going to France. Now, the disadvantage, and which is simply because it's not the right path, which we've gone over and over again, it's a really important to choose, is that you cannot work independently as a freelancer. If you mean to work on your own, in your own company, you have to revert back to the slides before. You're looking at a creation of company or un mandataire social. And now the average timeline, again, once you're in France, would be 2 to 2.5 months to get that residence permit, if you do it right, evidently. But that's truly, in terms of working in France, that would be the VIP status, truly because of the benefit it offers and the length of the residence permit you would have, which gives great peace of mind. So this is the European Blue Card for you.
Thank you, Léa. So if you're not eligible to the European Blue Card, you obviously have other options. I'm going to go a bit quickly through these because it becomes a bit technical. But basically, if you're transferred from your company in the US, for instance, to the entity in France, you can do an intra-company transfer. That can be interesting as well. You have 2 options for that. You've got the employee on assignment, which is a talent passport as well, involves to have a 3-month seniority in the company and a salary of roughly 40k gross per year. talent passport, so it includes the family, and same thing, it's a great way to the 10 years permit. The other option, if it's a bit the same, the difference is that your contract is going to remain in your home company, so you're going to be seconded to France. And in that case, it's the ICT secondment visa, which requires a salary of minimum 1,800. Sorry, growth monthly. You need to prove you've got 6 months of seniority in the same group. And that one, however, is only released for up to 3 years. You can still include your family, but it's only going to be released for 3 years. And I realize now that we forgot to say something really important about the talent passport, or that one. For the family with a talent passport, the spouse can work, which is obviously a great advantage. So coming back to that one, again, it's limited to 3 years, and then you can do a change of status, or you need to go back to your country if you want to request the same and wait 6 months. So again, that's really global mobility strategy. We're happy to recommend you the best way for you, because it's always going to be depending, when we talk about corporate immigration, on your salary, your contract, where is going to be your contract, how long you're going to be staying, and if you have a family. So that's really a very precise assessment we're happy to do for you. Now, the last option, if you don't match with the other options we've given you, is the salarié visa, which is the employee visa. That one is a bit more technical, because it may be that you have to go through the labor market testing, which means that your employer is going to have to prove to French authorities that you're the one they want, and that they can't find anyone else in France. So it's a bit of a more lengthy process based on the labor shortage, basically, in France. But it's feasible as well. The only thing is that it's usually released for 12 months only. Obviously, it's renewable as long as you meet the conditions. And then after some time, you get a pluriannual permit, but it's a bit of a more troublesome process that you have to go through each year. And it can be a lengthy process as well. Currently, authorities in France are not at the maximal performance, let's say. They're quite slow. It's taking some time. You will see when you arrive here, French authorities are a bit slow. So you need to be patient when you get started. So, well, that's, again, something a bit technical, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but you can see that you've got different options if you want to come to France to work. And now, if you want to come to France for love, Léa is going to tell you thing.
Of course, for the romantic Samantha, honestly, fancy themselves a French citizen, and who are also tired of us talking about working, we have just what you need. So you can come to France, of course, if you are married or in a civil partnership with a French citizen. That is a motive to get a visa delivered, and after that, a residence permit. So the condition, evidently, is that you have yourself a French citizen to who you are married or in a civil partnership with, and you have lived at least 6 months together, and you have proved that you have lived at least 6 months together. If you're married, and if you're in a civil partnership, that you have lived together at least 12 months. Now, that visa is delivered for a year, that you can, after that, renew into residence permit. And a big advantage of this, if you still want to work in France, is that you are authorized to work in any capacity. You don't have any other formality to complete when you have that type of residence permit and visa. That residence permit is usually first issued for a year, then, as we talked before, renewable for a pluriannual. It depends on the case. Evidently, at some point, you will be able to get that 10 years residency. Now, of course, another very interesting thing about having that residence permit or visa because you're married or in civil partnership with a French citizen is that after 4 years of marriage, you will be eligible for a nationality request. Now, that's something we can also do consultation about. It depends on how much time you've lived in France and how much time you lived abroad for being eligible for that, my bad. But that is also one of the quickest ways to nationality. So it's also nice when you think about marrying a French person and thinking about maybe moving to France to plan that aspect if you're looking for that French passport. Now, the disadvantage is evidently if you're not anymore married or if you're not in a relationship anymore with your French citizen, you will in fact lose that status, in which case you can of course change status if you are working or if you meet any other criteria and want to stay in France. We can of course help you navigate that. Change of status are always a bit scary, but that is something we're used to and something we can help you with. Although we'll be crossing fingers that you do not change status in the middle of your mobility. The second disadvantage was that it takes time, and it's something we've said a lot of time. If you come to France, you do not come for the fast administration. We know that. We can help you guide that as well, but this disadvantage is a true one because this type of residence permit will be one of the longer one in France to be processed. So you can count a bit of time and it's always a bit stressful, which is also why it is always nicer to be accompanied for this type of residence permit, as there is often additional requests and the administration will always demand more proof that you live together and that you're married and that you have what they call that community of life. So you just have to know that this is an option for you if you're married to a French citizen, and that is also something we can help you with. Evidently, we're always happy to hear about love stories and make it happen in France. So
Exactly.
We got you covered for that. Now, talking about applying for French nationality, you actually have multiple paths to that. The most common one is you lived legally, continuously 5 years in France, which will open that nationality request path to you. Another way is, as we just talked about, being spouse to a French citizen. And then there is also a specific situation which we're also happy to help you with if you were enrolled into the army or rendered a great service to France. If you have a brother or sister that is French citizen, there is always those small exceptions to get French nationality. We're happy to look into for you if you are eligible for that path. But what you must prove in any case is now a B2 level in French. So you need to speak French to get that French nationality. You need to know that you will be convoked and appointed to an appointment with a French officer to speak about why you want to be a French citizen and what are your motives, and test a bit your knowledge about French. So speaking French and having that B2 level is really important. You must be registered with the taxes. You will not get away with it if you want French nationality. They will ask you your tax reports from the last years. So that's really important and why we keep bothering you with planning your mobility ahead. Having familial ties in France is actually very important for nationality. They do not request that you have your parents in France or your entire family in France. However, if you are married or if you have children with someone else, having that person in France and your children in France is always well recommended, as the administration can refuse you your nationality because you are the only one in your family living in France. Steady social economic situation in France. Again, I've mentioned it before. You need to have resources in France and you need to show that you can live and support yourself in France just on your own by either working or having resources of your own. This is very important. They will ask you every time. And last time, new little addition this year in France is sitting and passing the civic test. Lovely little moment where you'll be asked plenty of questions about France and its river, history, and dates. which you have to sit. It's in a center on the computer. You have the ability to sit it multiple times if you need to, but you need now to be able to respond questions about France and sit the test to be able to get nationality. The red flags, which I've already mentioned, but not being employed in France is something that slows the administration down on your file. They would rather you being employed in France and paying taxes in France than not. The reason why the visitor visa is not the gold star for this process. Now, having family tie abroad, if your spouse is abroad, the great chances the administration is not going to like it because they're going to consider you're not integrated enough into the country. Hence, the importance here to be accompanied and have a coherent file. For nationality, it will be the hardest file and the longest file you will have to do if you do any processes in France. Making it coherent and understandable is very important. Being a tax resident abroad is also not well liked by our French administration. If you can only pay your taxes in France and pay all of them in France, they're always way more adamant to that. And the last red flag, as we've mentioned times and times again, is that French administration is very long. In some places, it will take more than 4 years to get your French nationality. Luckily for you, we know where it's also the fastest, so we can get you up on that. But choosing where you're going to apply and hence where you're going to live also helps you with this type of process that can take months and months and months, if not years.
Thank you, Léa. And before we move on to Carla, who's waiting for us, just a few immigration updates on the French civic exam. Léa told you a bit about it, but she's happy to tell you more.
I'm happy to scare you even more. The French civic test actually have a bit of a recap of what you're looking for. The French civic test is now required not only for nationality, but also if you ask for that 5 years, 10 years resident card we've been talking to you about, but also if you want a pluriannual, so a more than 1 year residence permit, you're looking at sitting the French civic test. 5 topics, always delightful, the values of the Republic, the political systems. It's pretty much an exam. You sit, you have 40 MCQs question, and you need at least 80% of questions right to receive your certificate. Now, again, the good news is if you try and you fail, you can try again. They will accept you sitting the test again as long as you pay for it every time. They're more than happy to let you sit it. So it's just something to take into account now when you're looking at renewing your resident permit or changing status is you need to be able to answer those questions and to sit the test. A new immigration update is that we have upped the level for language. Now, for a residence permit, you need an A2 to have a new pluriannual residence permit, a B1 for a resident card, and a B2 for a nationality request. So you now need to really speak French if you want to move into that path where you get longer and longer residence permit. But that is something we'll help you with, or at least hold your hand through while you struggle with those new elements.
Thank you, Léa. Okay, so we're done about the technical aspects of this presentation. Now we have Carla, who's here, who's supposed to be here. Carla, are you here?
I'm here. Yes.
Oh, hi,
Hello, everyone.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for being here. So,
Yeah,
Carla, please
pleasure.
tell our friends here who you are, what you're doing here, what's
your experience
in Paris.
Yes, with pleasure. To jump onto what Léa said, it really is a hand-holding experience with Oui Immigration, and so I often refer to them as my guardian angels because it has made this process so much more simplified and really so something that is very anxiety driven. They really have made the process so simple and easy for me because there's no detail that goes left unturned. I moved here 3 years ago. I've been working with Virginie now for a while from New York. And it started as, I think, an exploratory journey for me in the beginning, just really drawn here because it's Paris and it's an incredible moving place to be. It's hard not to fall in love with it. And wasn't quite sure what my journey would be, but obviously after being here, it's like you don't want to leave, and I certainly want to stay and am in the process of wanting to put down more permanent roots. And so working with this team is just absolutely exceptional in every way because I'm very much an overthinker and get very anxious by the process, but not only are they helping me through everything, it's like they're also our therapist in disguise. So, and although I came here with the intention of wanting to find love, that hasn't happened yet. So now I'm in the process of going through the entrepreneurial business route to really solidify my roots here because it's been 3 years on a long stay visitor visa for me. And so I'm going through the fun process of changing status and working on putting together now my business file. And for me, my line of work is in the healing arts, and I'm a Reiki practitioner. And so, wanting to bring an energy medicine atelier to the beautiful city of Paris, which is going through a really exciting wellness kind of buzz at this moment. It's really expanding nicely. So, it's an exciting time too to be here as kind of a trailblazer and bringing a little bit of that New York energy to Paris. But whatever it is, like they have my back. So it was truly like my honor to be able to step in today and also speak a little bit about my experience. And I'm happy to answer any specific questions too that anyone might have.
We have a question in the audience. We're going to answer all the questions, obviously, but this one might be related. What if you just cannot speak fluently in French, no matter how hard you try? What can you do in order to stay living in France? It's a question from Aurora.
Okay, well, I will say that certainly is not a problem. So don't let that deter you, although it's very important to be able to fully integrate. But for the most part, especially in a city that is so metropolitan as Paris, for the most part, everyone speaks English. And I have been like welcomed very warmly, and everyone is happy to speak English to me. I think people are actually excited to want to speak English. And it has a plus and minus because it's very easy to integrate if you're not at the point where you can speak fluently. But then it sometimes makes it harder to really shift into the mindset of wanting to speak and really integrate fully en français because people do speak English. But so don't let that hold you back if that's something that, is causing a little bit of hesitation.
All right.
Thank you, Carla.
Carla, if you want to stay with us a couple more minutes,
Yeah,
we might
sure.
have more questions from the audience that you may want to add your take on. And we can start with maybe answering from the beginning, Virginie.
Sure.
Aurora had a question. My husband is French. I am a US citizen with an 82 years old mother. How easy or hard it is for us to move to France? We already have a second home in France.
So basically, hi, Aurora. For yourself, it's going to be quite easy because you're going to be the spouse of a French citizen. And for your mom, I guess the best way would be to go for a visitor visa.
Yeah.
As long as you can prove that she's got enough financial resources, and that should be quite straightforward. So you can come.
Viviane has a question. How much does a visitor visa for long stay cost? Yeah.
So our fees, you can get in touch with us whenever you want, and we'll give you our fees. In terms of what the government is going to ask you, it's always going to be 99 euros per visa, and then depending on the process, between 200 and 300 euros for the residence permit once you're in France.
We have a question from an anonymous attendee. If one has a talent visa to create a company, bring a company to France, can one employ family member to be the sponsor of their carte bleue, the blue card?
Yeah, I mean, as long as the conditions are met. So if it's for a carte bleue, it needs to be a salary of over 60,000 euros per year, gross, a work contract of minimum 3 months, and the person needs to have a bachelor or at least 5 years of work experience. As long as these criteria are met, the fact that it's the same family doesn't really matter.
Another question for the talent visa, bringing a company to France, is the company required to have French clients? For example, can you open a French office for a company with only US clients?
Yes, you can, but technically when you open a company in France, you need to have more than one customer in order for it not to be changed into illegal work. But that's really labor law that we can go further on together privately. But yeah, it's better to have, ideally, it's good to have US and French customers.
We have a question from Yumi. I'm currently working for a company in the US. My parent company has some group companies in France. If I was able to get a position in France, am I eligible for applying for the blue card? I have a college degree, and I think making more than the salary it is required for the blue card.
Well, yes, I guess is what we just talked about. As long as you have a French contract, you just mentioned that you had a college degree and you can have a salary above 60K, then there is no reason for you, just because it's your parents' company, not to be able to come to France on that status. So the answer is yes.
Another question from an anonymous attendee. Does being retired make it difficult to get citizenship?
I think I mentioned it a bit before. The ideal pathway to get nationality is to have worked in France, to be working in France, and to pay taxes. So if you never worked in France before and you arrive with a retired person, it's always a bit more difficult. Your process is going to take more time, or the administration can ask for more proof that you have resources. Now, the thing is, the administration is always discretionary and its decision. So it is harder. It's not per se impossible. It's just, our job to tell you it's always a bit more difficult when you're retired to get citizenship. But depending on your situation, it may be worth a try.
Alfred, was there a slide on European national coming to France that I missed? Did you talk about European nationals?
No, there was no slide that you missed. And if you're a European national, by definition, you don't need anything to come and live and work in France.
An anonymous attendee. I understand that initially you get 1 year at a time, but at one point, does that change to 5 years or 10-year permit? I thought that once you're over a certain age, you don't have to keep doing the year-to-year renewal. Also, I heard if you own a home in France, that helps to have a smoother renewal. Is that correct?
So that's always going to be depend on the authority's decision based on your file. Technically, yeah, after some point of renewing year after year, they're going to give you a longer term permit, but it could be 2 years, could be 5 years, could be 10 years. It's really going to vary on the prefecture. and the fact that you own a house in France, yes, obviously it's going to make your file stronger.
Can the presenter provide information on fees for their services? I realize it might be might vary by situations, but some general range estimates would be very helpful.
Yeah, of course, we're very happy to give you our fees. Just get in touch with us because we need to do an assessment. Our fees are based on, are done by process. So we need to decide what's your process, and then we'll be happy to give you our fees.
We have a question from Michael regarding the new requirement for Social Security contribution for long stay visa. Has it been determined whether it will require annual payments in perpetuity, or is there an age cutoff? As well, is there a ballpark estimation of what the annual charges might be?
Not yet. We're still waiting for more information from the legislation to be issued. So we'll let you know when we'll let you know when we'll know.
A question from Ashley. Did you bring a pet? What is the process of bringing your pet with you?
Carla, I don't think you brought your pet along with you.
No, I didn't.
No.
But I'm at the point now where I want to have a pet here.
Ah.
But
No worries.
unfortunately, I can't speak to that.
So no, that's not something we do. So I know that you're probably going to need documents to be apostilled, international vaccinations and so on, but it's not something we do, but we're happy to recommend a specialist for pets mobility.
We have a question from Martin. I posted a comment earlier. My husband and I have bought a home in Montpellier, which will be completed in December or January 2026, 2027. Should we apply together as a couple or separately? My husband may continue to work here in the US until spring, summer 2027, but I will likely move to France as soon as our home is completed.
That's free up to you. I mean, you do not need to apply together. There's no obligation on that. So it's really up to you and your planning. You decide what's best for you.
Question from Amanda. What is OFI?
OFI is Office français de l'immigration et de l'intégration. So it's one of the immigration authorities in France that is going to manage particularly your medical check when you're here.
And also, the OFI is going to prep you for that delightful test I've talked to you about. For certain process, the OFI will convoke you for training session where you'll learn everything you need to know and prep you for the civic test if you need to sit it for your process later on.
So we have Alfred who said that he was mentioning non-European spouse. So it was a typo.
Yeah, well, in that case, there's a specific process for the spouse of a European citizen, which is the same more or less as the spouse of a French citizen. So you need to prove the relationship with the person through a wedding certificate and other documents, and it's required. So it's not a very complex process, but it takes time as well. It is not considered in priority by authorities, so it takes time, but it's feasible.
Last but not least, Aurora, thank you for your answers. Is it true you cannot work in France if you have a retirement pension from the US?
So working truly depends on the type of residence permit you do have. If you have a visitor visa, you cannot work in France. However, if you have a working type of visa where you can work for a French company or, any type of other visa we've talked about where you can work, it doesn't prevent you from having your pension from the US. It truly depends on your situation.
And we'll finish on time. Beautiful.
Whoa, look at us.
I would love to just add one thing.
Please do.
Just to everyone who's listening and interested in pursuing this, it feels it can feel very overwhelming, the process in the beginning of everything that is required and the act of putting all the documents together. But I absolutely cannot recommend this enough. I am so, so grateful to Virginie and Léa, and this has absolutely just elevated my life in the most beautiful way. And even though it's takes a lot of time and effort and patience and can be stressful at moments, it is just so absolutely rewarding. And so if you have that desire, absolutely go for it, because it's really just incredible. And the quality of life is it's just magical, you know, it really is. So yeah, vive la France.
Thank you, Carla, and it's been a pleasure helping you settling down here, and we're happy to help you in your next steps and wish you lots of success in your Reiki. Yeah.
Thank you both. Yeah.
Carla, thank you so much for joining us. I think it helps also the audience project themselves. So thank you really for joining us today.
Yes.
We'll finish on this lovely note. If you want to reach out to Virginie Léa and you didn't scan already the QR code, you will receive an automated email in 24 hours with their Calendly, where you can directly book a call with them. And I'll see you next time, I guess. Thank you.
Thank you, Bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Good luck, everyone.